Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Toni Braxton, you are allegedly suing Birdman for $160 million. And part of it is the fact that his alleged long-term friend at one time, maybe Sneaky Link, who knows Kimora Lee Simmons, is now officially back on the market because her man just got sent to jail for 2 years. Y'all, what am I talking about? Yo, Toni Bra, forget about the mess between Timor and her sisters. Can we put on Braxton Family Values and sit Toni down and say, what is going on between you and Bert? Okay, so listen, let me fill y'all back on some old tea. Okay, this is what streets are saying. Do your own research, but this is what streets are saying. Okay, so Toni got married to Birdman secretly. Okay, now when that happened, that Toni was waiting around at the altar. Okay, now Birdman did not stand her up, but he came late. And when he got there, people are saying he had attitude. Like, all right, man, let's do this. You do this. Looking at Toni like, you finished or is you done? And I was like, you know what? I wasn't there. And I'm not saying it happened, but this 100% tracks. So then Toni ended up marrying Birdman. Now, at first I said, why would anybody marry Birdman? But then I remembered the way Lil Wayne is always mad about money. There was something with Nicki's contract, actually, all of cash, not cash money, but Young Money and Cash Money contracts. They and Drake's money, when he was with them, it all went somewhere. And I'm thinking it went to Birdman's pockets, which is why Toni might be suing him for 160 million because he got it. But why would he be suing her? Well, let's go back to the wedding day. So he walks in, you know, doing that New Orleans walking naked pin and right, and he goes and he marries her. So on her wedding night, when they are supposed to, according to ancient Chinese tradition, consummate the marriage, right? He humiliates her from the think about if it's like the emperor and the cons, the empress, the consort, the concubine. She's supposed to be the consort. She's number one. You gotta consummate on the first night of marriage. Guess what? He left her as soon as they got married. Why? Because his long-term friend, Kimora Lee Simmons, needed him. Kimora needed him. Now, why did Kimora leave him? Well, need him. Well, for one, around that time, Kimora's whole world was falling around down because her uh, billionaire hedge fund husband was no longer a billionaire. And Uncle Sam was saying, all y'all gonna go to jail. As a matter of fact, Russell Simmons is still fighting Kimora Lee in court for what's going on with those Celsius stocks. What was it? Russell Simmons gave Kimora Lee Celsius stocks, I think, to avoid having to pay anybody because Russell Simmons was, as much as he likes to front, he was the first Diddy and the object, shout out to Drew Dixon, and the object of the Me Too movement. But he fled to Bali and bought a resort in Bali where Usher uh likes to visit. Why perverted Franklin the turtle does a downward dog. That's what Russell Simmons looks like to me. But listen, I know what you're saying. Tissa, where you going with this? We going around the bend, but follow me. We coming back out to it, right? Anyway, uh, her husband, Wolfie's dad, the feds was like, yo, you going to jail. And he's like, please let me out on bail. And they're like, all right, if you want to be out on bail, you're going to have to do two things. You're going to have to talk, right? And you're going to have to pay a bill, right? And he's like, fine, fine, fine. He said, but you froze all my assets. How am I going to pay you anything? I mean, if you want to ease up off of some of that money, and the feds are like, we ain't easing off that. None of the money, all the money is frozen. However, if you want to put something down as collateral, we'll be happy to do that. Cut to Kimora Lee. She had Celsius stock. Y'all know Celsius in her drink. Okay. How did she get Russell Simmons, when he was fleeing the country, gave them gave those stocks, whatever, to Kimora to hold. Now, I don't know why he said he just gave it to her, but I said, yeah, okay, Russell. Okay. Kimora looked and said, well, I got some collateral. Kimora says he gave me these stocks and she took the stocks and gave it to the federal government. Now, here's the thing with stocks for collateral for federal government, they give you a credit for what it's currently worth. Celsius was worth some money. However, in the coming years, it blew up and now that mess is worth, it was already worth like, I don't know, 25. Now it's worth a fortune, literally a fortune. Kimora was suing to say, yo, I gave you like, I don't know, 25 million in collateral. It's now worth this. Give me it back. And they're like, that's not the way it works. Because if you had given us the stock and it had gone down to zero, right? It had gone down to zero, then we would have just had to eat. But now that it's gone up to like 3,000 times its original worth, baby, we gonna eat this too and put some chopped onions on this fish. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Thank you, Mrs. Simmons. Okay, right? So get this, around this time, all this stuff was going on. There was other stuff going on in the background too. Who knows, right? He left Toni on her wedding day to go be with Kimora because Kimora's been going through it because of the man that she married. Now, for those of you guys rolling your eyes, there is a long history with Birdman, Kimora Lee Simmons. As a matter of fact, on his IG post, Birdman actually called Kimora Lee Simmons the love of his life. Okay, that this is back from 2000, back in the day. Rumors sparked like crazy that Birdman and Kimora Lee Simmons are dating after the Cash Money CEO posted a picture of the two on his Instagram page. He captioned it, shout out the two, and tagged her to the official Kimora, love of my life. Thank you for everything you did and you do for me. Rich girl, rich gang. Many started to wonder if, in fact, Birdman was coined the fame Mama 3 his lady in the and this is not the first time these whispers have sprung up either, as Kimora also starred alongside Birdman last year in Rich Gain's Tap Out video. Now I think this video is like from 2008 or two. Okay, so anyway, if you go into like old school blogs, there's always been room. Let's just say they have a very, very, very close relationship. One so close it left Toni waiting at the altar. Now get this, after that happened, 2 days later, she filed for divorce. Then Toni, because it was a slap in the face. But then I guess Birdman came home. Kimora sent him home. Toni took him back. But then a month later, Toni filed for divorce. And baby, she wants 60 million. And people are saying that Birdman got a lot of girls. He might even have a few kids out there. But he's taking care of all of them. She wants a chunk out of that. Now, why is it again? They said a month and then they got back together. They are back on the rocks again. And this time, she 100% wants a divorce. So what changed in that time? What changed in that time? I'll tell you what changed. The husband that Kimora had, because for whatever reason, I guess Birdman had money, but Kimora never took him seriously, because if they were in something going on, she never claimed him. That husband of Kimora's, guess what? He actually got sent away for 2 years in jail. This just happened, and it flew under the radar because Diddy's trial was going on. He literally got arrested. I'm not sorry, not arrested. He got convicted, and they literally said that he was going to have to do 2 years in jail. Hold on, let me pull this up. Here we go. Let's get into it. They said Tim Lesnar, the former Goldman Sachs banker who played a central role in the infamous 1MB scandal. That is when they defrauded the Sovereign Real Estate Investment Fund of Malaysia for billions of dollars. Apparently, that's how he was living his billionaire lifestyle. He was sentenced Thursday to 2 years in prison for helping orchestrate one of the largest financial crimes in history. He pleaded guilty in 2018 to conspiracy charges, admitted to working with fellow banker Roger Ng and Malaysian financier Jolo. Let's not forget, would pay Kim Kardashian $500,000 at a time cash to come hang out with him in Vegas, and she would literally get on JetBlue or Spirit Airlines, whatever, in her carry-on and bring that cash home on flights. Okay. They helped Malaysian financier Jolo and Roger Ng to siphon billions from Malaysia's sovereign wealth fund. It was One Malaysia Development Fund. They were supposed to be developing real estate. The sentencing delivered by U.S. District Judge Margot Brody in the federal court marked a major milestone in a years-long investigation into the global bribery scheme that led to billions in penalties for Goldman Sachs and drew intense scrutiny from U.S. and Malaysian authorities. Oh, it's not over. Let me run through this real quick because I got a little bit more tea for y'all. They said the scandal, which helped fund extravagant spending sprees and even the production of the Hollywood hit The Wolf of Wall Street, also dragged his personal life into the spotlight, most notably his high-profile marriage to his now arranged fashion mogul wife, Kimora Simmons. Do you think that's why Birdman need to look after her? Because this has been going on for years. Lisner, a German-born former partner and chief of Southeast Asia operations at Birdman, admitted to lying to colleagues, creating fake email accounts, and forging documents, including to deceive a Kimora about his marital status. Prosecutors said Lyser personally received more than 50 million in kickbacks, and as part of a scheme that saw over 2.7 embezzle, the funds were allegedly used to bribe officials in Malaysian Abuai fund lavish lifestyles and finance luxury assets like real estate, fine art, and Martin Scorsese directed The Wolf of Wall Street. During the hearing, Judge Brody acknowledged his cooperation with the government, but said it didn't excuse the enormous harm caused. I do want to say this, right? I do want to say this now. What's the tea is also, did y'all know that that wasn't even really Kimora Lee's husband? Because apparently he had lied to her about whether he was married a lot. He would target like rich Asian women, or maybe he just liked Asian women. But one of the rich women, when he met Kimora, he was like, yo, what's up? And Kimora was like, don't you got a girl? Ain't you married? And he was like, no. And she's like, well, if that's the case and you have her contact me, and when she says it's okay to talk to you, I'll talk to you. So the ex-wife emailed Kimora and was like, listen, Tim is a great guy. You need to give him a chance. He talks about you all the time. Kimora was like, oh, really? So they were communicating via email. And even when she got mad at him, the girl would pop up and be like, Tim said you had an argument. What's going on? And it seemed like they were all getting along. I know you know where this is going. So apparently, cut to, there was no Tim's ex-wife. He was married to, at least I think, two other people at the same time as Kimora, and the wife he thought he was talking to, that was him the whole time, running game on her as his fictitious ex-wife, because his ex-wife is actually his real wife. So that means if you are already married, you know the laws against political polygamy in the US. If you're already married, doesn't matter what he said to Kimora Lee. Say it with me. They're not really married. That's not really her husband. Again, when I said baby, according to these reports, I've been looking out after Kimora because she's going through things. Baby, she was going through things. So now you put all this money down for this man to get him out on bail. He's doing all this crazy stuff. And you find out that legally, y'all are not really husband and wife. You're husband and wife in spirit on paper. I don't know, right? So all that's going on, baby is said to be rushing in to play hero. And finally, the woman that he's wanted for years not only is completely single, but her bank account is also really, really lonely. Toni said she had enough. She just wants her money. And now she's suing for 160 million. Because at the end of the day, she is furious that the one that got away for Birdman, if you believe these rumors, okay, the one that got away now is back sitting there saying,
What's up? My bank account's lonely. What's going on? Right? Again, it's a really crazy situation. And I'm actually going to do a deep dive video about this because I think a lot of y'all forgot about this. But this could be the reason for Toni now asking for 1 million and say I'm leaving you because Kimora is now single. But I do want to say two things. One, do we know what's going on between Kimora, Birdman, and Ton? But this is what these reports are saying. Definitely Tin just got 2 years in jail. But if it is true about all the backstory, I wouldn't be surprised, right? But secondly, and this is to Birdman, if she ain't want you, 'cause she's been single quite a few times. If she ain't want you when she was up, why you want her when you down? I'm just joking. You know that's his baby. That is his baby. He going to look after Kimora, come rain, shine, or hell water. Congratulations to Toni for the divorce. Do you think the divorce is actually going to go through? I think she's just mad because you married that man, knowing what you know. And at the end of the day, Kimora Lee and Toni's bank accounts are probably looking the same. I mean, baby, they ain't broke, but they ain't, they, they're, they are not billionaires. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you think of this. I'm going to come back with more tea and do a deep dive because I know I skimmed over a lot of stuff. But baby, we are watching this and I want to see Toni break her silence, or at the very least, I hope Toni tell Tamara some of her business because you know Tamara gonna put that on her Instagram stories, make her cuffle, and then post something about God loves everybody. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later.